Welcome, everyone, to the Ohio Fly Tying Guild. I'm Gary Begley, and thank you for joining us. The Guild is a function of the Buckeye United Fly Fishers, my local club, Cincinnati, and it's in conjunction with Fly Fishers International, the Ohio Council. Posting flies. Probably most of you have posted wings on a fly. I got two fly patterns planned, and they're both very, very good fly patterns. And they're both have a single post, but they frankly are somewhat different patterns. Show you the first one is a parachute Adams, and if you don't know what I'm talking about with the post is what the hackle is wrapped around. Simple procedure, but there's a couple tricks to it, which I'll share with you guys. So I'll go ahead, I'll get this out and get started. Got a hook. I'm using a standard dry fly hook. Actually, this one's 2x long. This is Daiichi 1280. Any dry fly hook's going to work just fine. And I'll start my thread. Eventually, I'll end up with a thread base throughout all the way across the whole hook shank. So I'll just run it through there right now. So we need to tie in the tail. I'm going to use some Coq De Leon for the tail. Just get a few fibers, line up the tips, and pull the feather away from the material. I want this to be at least hook shank length. I like them a little longer. I just like to compare with my scissors. It's about right. I might shorten it up just a little bit. Get rid of this extra that I don't need. Now I need to go about to the third of the way back the hook shank. I'm about in the center there. I can usually go 1, 2, 3 turns, 4 turns. Can usually put me about where I want to be. That's where we need to tie in the post material. I'm just going to use some polypropylene yarn. You could use any of the synthetic materials such as Zelon, EP fibers. I'm going to make this a little longer than the hook shank. And actually, you could use calf tail as well. That's a little more difficult to deal with than the synthetic stuff. Got one trapped here. Get rid of that so it won't cause problems later on. Wraps up front. These are all real good tight wraps. And I'm going to attempt to cut this off at an angle. Bit longer than I like. That'll work. Wouldn't have to bind this down yet. I like to get it down. Now I'm going to come up front and stand up my post. And then I'm going to post the link. If you've never done this before, go slow. There's some grabbing the material, bringing it around, thread around tight, and kind of the soft wrap around the back part where I'm not holding the material. That works the best for me. Several years ago, I was taught that you're supposed to, if you go up 10 wraps, you're supposed to come back down 10 wraps. I don't do that. I get a fairly decent solid post, and I don't use near the amount of wraps. I just come on back down. And it works just fine for me. All right. Now, at this point, I could tie in my hackles. I'm going to tie the hackle then on that post. So they'll be standing straight up. So it might be much easier for me to wrap them. But I'm going to come back to the back and start dubbing the rear section. Probably should call it the abdomen. And that way the hackle won't be standing up and me flopping around as I'm wrapping it, as I'm dubbing, I should say. All right, that's some super fine dubbing, Adam gray. And of course, you can make this any color that you wanted. Depending on what kind of bug you're trying to imitate. Noodle increase in diameter as I'm going forward. I want to stop right there and get my hackle tied in. Use a brown and grizzly. And I like to tie them so the concave part is facing up. Of course, you could tie it either way. Notice I've left plenty of bare stem there. I want enough stem to get it attached to the hook for stability, but then I want enough bare stem to come up the post. Got the hackle up the post. Actually going to post it up a little bit higher. And come down, secure this better so they won't pull out. So they hopefully won't pull out. A little bit more dubbing. Right back up here. Finish the dubbing. Actually, I need to go a little bit behind here. I can actually push the post over, help keep it out of my way. All right. Once you get the hang of posting, there's really not much to tying one of these. Just two hackles and some dubbing and a tail. And the post material, of course. Go ahead and tie off and whip finish. Get rid of the thread for now. Because I'm going to change positions in the vise. I found that this, for me anyway, and I've seen a few other tires approach it this way. This makes it a lot easier. Puts the fly in this position to wrap the hackle. I believe, anyway. Now, I could wrap each one separately, or I could wrap them both together, which I like to do. Try not to trap any fibers. I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. Some unruly post material. I'm going to get rid of that. I bound down a couple. And we'll see what happened on the other side. That would be a parachute Adams. Second fly will be a Klinkhammer. Let's see. We got a message in the chat from the disabled microphone gentleman. Seen that technique? It uses a clip at the end of a bent coat hanger wire to clip the post when wrapping with a thread and hackle. Sounds like that would probably work well. I've never heard of that one, Bruce. All right. There's Klinkhammer hook. Looks like a curved stud hook. But there's more of a straight section over here. But this one is a Daiichi 1160. I'm going to tie on a size 14. But this design, that hook is designed specifically for this fly. And let's see, there's a couple of the other companies. Mustad has a C49S, which works well for this. And Partridge, I have a small package of Partridge here, is a 15BN. The Partridge hook is longer than the Daiichi. I'm sure either one's going to work just fine. With thread, I'm going to use all of the thread and a caddis color for the body. Back to the hook point. Put my thread in this right about in the center of that thread base that I put down. And we need to tie in the post material. Same exact material. I can use the same exact piece. Maybe I will use a different piece because that one's became unruly on the other side. So I want to leave myself plenty of space here. Spin the thread counterclockwise. Again, some good tight wraps. And I'll leave the post end down. Cut this at an angle. A little more critical on this fly than the other one as far as getting a taper. Be able to smooth the rest of that out with dubbing. Then we need to stand up our post. I've found usually 8 tight turns back into the post is sufficient. All right. This is the color that the superfine people say is caddis green. Might well be the case, but I have a different patch that I like to use, a little bit different color, because it matches the caddis that I find in my local river much better. There's a difference. This is what they call caddis green. This is actually blooming olive, is what they call it. But this is a very good match for the actual caddis that I find in the stream. Very sparse with the dubbing and gradually increase. A taper right there, but or not a smooth taper, I should say. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. If we're gonna use some Peacock for a thorax area, you get my hackle tied in beforehand, of course. I'll use just one grizzly. Again, bare stem against the post. I'd be careful that the hackle doesn't spin on me. This thread torque comes into play up here on the post also, just like on the hook shank. One piece of peacock coral. Get rid of the very fragile tip. Get rid of what's going to be extra. A little thorax area. And we'll use the same procedure on this one. Finish, get rid of my thread. Change positions. Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. Start some thread back on the post. So just need to wrap the hackle. And we'll finish. Wrap the couple. Trim the post. I like length of the post. I set my scissors from the hook eye down to the hook point. Measure up from that. And there's my version of a Klinkhammer. Questions, comments?
Yeah, Gary, my question was an online resource for supplies. What do you do? Do you have one you go to that's good, or?
I use several different suppliers. Is there a good old fashioned fly shop near you? Always
Well,
recommend.
Bass
Always
Pro, something like that,
no, okay. If there's a small business fly shop, I always recommend them first because we want to keep those guys in business. If you're lucky enough to
Yeah,
have
I
one.
understand that.
Thanks for showing up, Al. And got finished a little bit early this evening. Anybody else have any other comments or questions?
I think mostly posts just take practice. If you want to practice, skip the whole fly and just, tie on post and then take them off and cut them off, tie on some more. And
Yep.
you get better every time you do one.
Yeah,
and you need
well,
lots of practice.
Oh, thank
some of us get better each time. It can be frustrating. You get a few wraps on and they flop off. And it's frustrating. You just got to go slow, hold the post, and pull tight on it, and then just nice and easy, and then pull tight again.
Yeah, I think that point of pulling tight, um, that helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely. That way you can get good tight wraps.
Yeah.
as opposed to just a loose wrap going around.
One of the things that Jeff always did was you tipped it when you tied on the hackle. Jeff tipped it when he did the post.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just personal preference.
Jerry, I think you did a great job. I think
thanks,
the
Jerry.
idea of reorienting the fly so that when you're wrapping, it's a comfortable wrap. This makes it a lot easier to control.
Definitely.
That's why it helps to tie a few of them, leave it like this, see what works, tip it, go around the other way, whatever is easier for you.
I've tied several without changing the position of the fly and device, and it works. It's a little more cumbersome holding on to it, but if you get it down to the side, you can.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of personal preference. It's what you get used to, what works best for you.
Yeah.
I like the fan there.
Mhm.
All right.
Very interesting.
Anything else from anyone?
Not too much.
Nah.
Well,
Thanks,
with
Gary.
that,
Appreciate it.
yeah, well, thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for showing up.